Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Question says, Mata yakunu zawaju wajiban? When is marriage obligatory? When is it a must, an Islamic obligation for you to get married? So the question obviously is based off of something which is already known or presupposed or pre-assumed. And that is that getting married isn't obligatory. It's not wajib. Whereas he says, when is it wajib? You learn many things just from the style of the question, with regards to the questioner and with regards to the one who's being questioned. So the question says, Mata yakunu zawaju wajiba? When is it mandatory? I.e., to the questioner and perhaps even to the one being questioned, it's already established that getting married is not mandatory. It isn't mandatory. It being a good thing, a recommended thing, a preferred thing, a virtuous thing, a blessed thing, tayyib. A wajib thing based off of the question to the questioner for sure, and perhaps big possibility to the one being asked, they don't believe that it's mandatory to get married. So most of the scholars of Islam, before we continue with the answer, most of them, 9 out of 10, they hold the view that getting married in Islam is not obligatory. A person doesn't have to get married. It's a recommended thing to do. It's a virtuous thing to do for obvious reasons. Having children, making Muslims, practicing Islam together as a family unit, etc. It's the way of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's also the way of the prophets and messengers before the Prophet Muhammad. As Allah mentions in the Quran Kareem, He gave the prophets azwajan wa dhurriyyah. He gave them wives and He gave them progeny. However, they hold the view that it is a recommended act. And there are some of the scholars of Islam, a small group, they say rather it is obligatory for a person to either get married or a tasarri, which is not really going to be applicable nowadays with regards to concubinage in al-Islam. But one of the two. And then a person cannot just live a life of abstinence. They hold the view that a Muslim is not supposed to live a life of abstinence. They're not supposed to live a life of just being celibate, just being by themselves. I'm okay, I don't need to get married. They hold the view that that is impermissible in the deen, and that a person has to get married. A person has to get married. And obviously each side has its own proofs and evidences, and they also have their ways of looking into those proofs and evidences. What's important is that perhaps the questioner and the one being asked the question is of the opinion and the view that it isn't obligatory, except for an instance, and except for a time in which everyone unanimously agrees that you have to get married. There's a time in which those who say that it isn't wajib, they now say it is wajib. It's no longer an option. Everybody understand this? Those who say that it was originally an option, they say in this instance or this scenario, it is no longer an option and you have to do it. So the answer, it says, يجب الزواج على من خشي على نفسه الوقوع في الزنا فمن لم يتجنب الزنا إلا بالزواج فيجب عليه الزواج. He says here that it is obligatory to get married upon one who fears falling into zina, one who's afraid of falling into zina. He says one who cannot avoid zina unless he gets married or she gets married, then it's no longer optional for them to get married. Now they must get married. That's the end of the fatwa. This means that a person has desires that Allah has naturally created them with, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a bad thing. Oftentimes in our modern world, we remove ourselves from the natural fitrah, and we look at it as a bad thing. That's natural. That's how Allah made the human being. There's nothing embarrassing. There's nothing bad. There's nothing negative about that. It's a natural emotion. It's a natural feeling. Islam and the natural way go hand in hand. There's never a time in which the Sharia goes against the natural way of Allah making the human being. So therefore, the concept of a person having these desires that Allah made him or her with, and these desires cannot be lawfully tainted, then it's obligatory to get married. Now, how does this apply to us, brothers and sisters? A person, or the fatwa says, al-wuqu' fi zina, falling into it, i.e. someone who's already fell into it and continually falls into it, then of course, they have to get married. Min bab awla. then they take even more precedence. Someone is afraid of falling into zina. I didn't do it yet, but it is a serious thought. Huh? It's a serious what? It's a serious thought. The time I wake up, I go to school, I go to work, I go outside, I get on the train, I drive. It's a serious thought. He says, then you must get married. So let alone if there's a young Muslim man or a young Muslim woman, a teenager, your son, your daughter, or even you, grown Muslim man, and zina is a problem, then getting married is what? Waajib, according to all of the ulama. Let alone if you're actually falling into zina. And what you've made zina, you have a girlfriend, you've done it, and you think about doing it again, and you're going to do it again. Then, of course, you even what? You take even more. Now, included in this is also a person who doesn't fall into zina, but they fall into one act of lack of chastity and one act of sexuality which is un-Islamic, whatever that may be. Looking at pornographic images, videos, pictures, homosexuality, lesbianism, person who masturbates, things like this, even if it isn't actually zina. But if it is deviation from the natural way of sexuality in Islam, then they are also included in this fatwa. So it's not just, well, I didn't make zina. Everybody understand this? I didn't make zina, but this is haram. Or even if it isn't haram, it's something which is definitely not a good thing. It's not a good thing to do this act. Even if you say that it isn't haram to do it, but it isn't the natural way. It isn't the natural way, and oftentimes it's connected with other things which are far more destructive. Everybody understand this? Those who say, for example, they ask the question, what is the ruling on masturbation in Islam? And the person says it's not haram. This is the view that I believe is permissible. These are the proofs and evidences. It's no proof saying it's haram. Maybe someone could have said that in a specific time, but in 2018 to say that it isn't haram may be very difficult because it's no longer an isolated act now. Now it's connected with other things such as the internet. It goes hand in hand. So when a person is doing that, they're watching this. Obviously watching that is haram. What does that lead to? The mind, the body, the heart, further acts. Everybody clear on this? This is a very important concept here. So if you cannot be chaste and pure except through marriage, then getting married is what? Obligatory. Another issue pertaining to this answer is those who want to get married and they need to get married. Young Muslim brothers, young Muslim sisters. However, I can't find the right girl, I can't find the right sister. My parents won't say yes. Or I have to finish school first. Or I have to finish work, I have to have a job, I have to have this amount of money saved up in the bank. This is one of the most common problems that we come across on a daily basis. Age, money, education, race, wherever you go. We were in the Bronx a couple weeks back. It was a black brother and a Yemeni sister. The Yemeni sister and the black brother, they were in love with each other. But parents say no. Or the father of the girl says, no, you can't marry my daughter because you're black. And the brother's coming up to me saying, listen, I have a problem. We really, really need to get married. What can we do? Is it permissible? So on and so on and so forth. It's a reality. Or young brothers, they come up and they say, I want to get married, but my father says I have to finish my degree first. Or I don't have enough money. Or my older brother has to get married first. Or my older sister has to get married first. All of these different problems. And at the end of the bottom of the list are those who say, I want to get married. I need to get married. I can get married, but I'm looking for the right sister, the right girl. She's not pretty enough. Or she's too old, or she's too this, or she's too that, or whatever the case may be. So based off of this fatwa, all of those things must now be what? Shaved off and cut off for someone who cannot control him or herself except through marriage. There is no, I want her to be 20 years old. No. Now, if there's a 30-year-old sister, you have to do what now? Marry the 30-year-old sister now. You can't say, I'm looking for the 20-year-old right sister because you're falling into haram acts. If you say, I want the sister to be fair-skinned, but a sister who isn't fair-skinned, you have to get married to the sister that's what? Not fair-skinned. Or you say, I want a sister who's brown-skinned. I don't want a sister who's fair-skinned. You have to marry the what? Wahakadha. All of those conditions, those stipulations, all of those finely tuned tastes that you want in a sister or a brother, they now have to be what? Abolished now. Because it's obligatory for you to what? Get married. And there are sisters who are there to get married to, but you just have a finicky taste or a specific list of preferences. Everybody understand this? And it's a very common trap of the shaitan. Very common trap of the shaitan. A young brother or young sister who's patient and says, I'm looking for the sister who's 20 years old, who has this job, so on and so forth, I'll be patient until I find the sister that I think is right for me. That's fine. But the one who's falling into haram, like we mentioned, with his eyes, with his ears, with this and that, there's no longer any preference. And oftentimes you may marry someone that you may not necessarily feel is the best for you for personality reasons or physical reasons or whatever the case is. And Allah may put a great deal of barakah in that marriage for you. And you may end up loving that person and having children and living upon some type of happiness later on. Talk to some of your parents or some of the older brothers and sisters. Sit down and ask your parents, Abby or Umi or Dad, when you met Umi, when you met Mom, did you like her? Did you love her? You'd be shocked what some of your parents may tell you, if they're honest. If they're honest. Some of them may say, no, I really didn't like your mom like that. Or it was an arranged marriage, it was fixed. Or I didn't want to get married at that age. I thought your mother was beautiful, but I wasn't ready. And they've been married for 30, 40 years, happiness. So oftentimes it's not always based off of the beginning. Sometimes Allah will put barakah in something and you're blind to that thing. So this is one of the benefits of putting your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and leaving it in Allah's hands and taking what Allah brings to you. There's no accident that this brother came to you, sister. It's no accident that this sister came to you. It's no accident. But oftentimes we refuse Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's barakah and we say, I'm looking for A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. And then a person is making zina. They're falling to haram. And then they have the audacity and nerve to complain. I can't stop making zina. No one wants to marry off the young brothers. The people are prejudiced. They want a lot of money. The people are racist. No. It's just you have too many preferences and there are sisters that are available. Everybody clear on this or not. And the same applies to one's parents. If you're falling into zina, you have a major problem, there is no obedience to your parents. Because your parents are not going to be resurrected with you. Your parents they're not going to come and help you out for your list of bad deeds that you made in your bad scale. So my father says no marriage until you finish the law degree or the doctor or the nursing, whatever you're studying. But I have this girlfriend that I'm falling in zina with every night. Now there is no listening to my father. I have to disobey my father in order to obey Allah, the creator of my father. Everybody understand this? Obviously, this is easier said than done. But you have to have strength in your iman. Who do you fear worse? Whose wrath is worse? Your father's wrath or Allah? And the same applies to sisters as well. So you have to have courage. You have to have courage. You have to have knowledge. You have to have courage. You have to have certainty. You have to have patience. You have to have what? You have to have patience. If you can fast, then fast. Busy yourself with studying or working, alhamdulillah. But if you can't, you have to do what? What you have to do. Everybody clear on this or not? You have to do what you have to do. So that's the end of the fatwa. This fatwa was given by Sheikh Muhammad bin Ismail al-Imrani, rahimahullah ta'ala. We ask Allah for beneficial knowledge and righteous action. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.